Happy today.
Good morning.
Happy
Happy
today.
today.
Happy today. How are you?
How are you doing? You're good?
I am so awesome, dude. Let me tell you, I am like so awesome. I can't begin to tell you. I woke up renewed, refreshed. I feel like a new man. And if you've ever felt one, you know what I mean. Okay? So, yeah, I'm just going to say that.
That's good. Where are you at? You're in your car?
I am in an undisclosed location traveling to a certain event that will remain undoxed.
Okay.
I'm doing some top secret Bitcoin mining research. Let's just put it that way.
Oh. Are you interviewing somebody?
I can't say what I'm doing any more than like, okay, I might be talking to Satoshi Nakamoto. Let's just put it like that, all right? I might have a one-on-one interview with Satoshi Nakamoto. That's why I can't really say where I'm going or reveal where I'm at, or it's really hush-hush, G.
Okay. All right. Well, welcome to the show, Proof of Work. I am your host, Gerald. That is my co-host, MattySats. We want to thank our sponsors at Quantum Expeditions. They obviously are one of our sponsors, also Quantum Economics and Shieldfolio. If you're not familiar with Shieldfolio, highly recommend. You can scan the QR code, get the 20% discount off of their product. Basically, what it does is it protects your seed words from prying eyes, and it's very handy to have. And let's get into it today. So today's show's Bitcoin, the games, the scam. Before we get into that, though, I did want to share because I have been saying I was probably one of the first analysts to say this, that I said I think that this October, November, we're going to see a collapse in the equities markets. And guess what? All of the red flags have now been ticked. And here is one of the most ominous indicators. It is the inversion of the yield curve. But here's a nice little video that explains it precisely. So I'm just going to pull that up and hit.
United States uninverted in the month of August. That means the yield curve went from being below zero, which is called an inversion, and into positive territory. This is a signal that occurred in May of 2007, a few months before the start of the global financial crisis, and in November a few months before the 2001 recession began. In fact, every single time that this signal was triggered throughout history, it was right before an economic downturn in the United States. Even right before the Great Depression in the 1930s, the yield curve uninverted in October of 1929, right at the onset of the Great Depression. The reason this works so well is because the yield curve essentially shows us how financial markets are currently pricing in the state of the labor market. You can see the unemployment rate highlighted right here follows the exact path of the yield curve at any given point in time. When the yield curve is inverted, like in these instances, it means the labor market is very hot, and that often coincides where the Federal Reserve is raising interest rates and tightening monetary policy to cool down the labor market. As the yield curve uninverts and steepens, it means the Federal Reserve is loosening monetary policy because the labor market is cooling down and the unemployment rate is typically rising. And you can see this time has absolutely not been any different. We have the yield curve that's steepening and coming out of an inversion right as the unemployment rate in the United States has really begun to move higher. So does that mean that we're in the process of entering the yield curve is likely to steepen and the unemployment rate is likely to rise? Because if that's the case, that would be very for the stock market. The yield curve steepening throughout 2023 brought the stock market down for a 10% correction. The yield curve steepening that we had between June and August of 2024 also brought the S&P 500 down for a 10% correction. If the yield curve to continue steepening, it would mean more recessionary fears and it would bring the S&P 500 down as that's happening. Now, eventually, we think that's the direction that we're going to be heading into. And the stock market correction that we saw throughout the a little bit of a taste of what's actually going to happen when the recession materializes. But you can see what's been happening more recently is that the yield curve is actually cooled back, and the stock market as a result has been able to recover. This is what you call a whipsaw signal, and it's definitely not the first time that we've witnessed this. If we rewind to 2006, you can see it inverted initially in February of 2006. Then the yield curve began. And this actually correction. Look at what happened right after that. The yield curve reinverted as the recession was postponed, and that allowed the S&P 500 to break out to new highs. Rewind to 1998, and we also saw the yield curve very briefly invert in July of 1998. That was followed by the yield curve steepening and uninverting, which also coincided with a panic in the stock market, where the S&P 500 dropped by 20% during that period. Then look at what happened. You see the curve reinversed, and that allowed the stock market to surge back to all-time highs. Again, let's rewind to 1989. The yield curve inverted in the first half of 1989 and then uninverted throughout the month of June and July of 1989. But yet again, you can see the recession only occurred in mid-1990. So this signal right here was actually a whipsaw signal and led to a full year where the stock market continued to trend higher. So basically, over the last 40 years, we've had 3 whipsaw signals associated with yield curve inversions. So is that what we're witnessing today, where this was only a brief whipsaw signal that would allow the stock market rally to continue higher like it did in these instances? Right now, that's exactly what seems to be happening. And this is what we warned our members about right as the yield curve was uninverting and you had everyone talk about a recession. The problem at that moment for us was that there was no clear catalyst that was pushing the economy into a recession. You see, every single recession that we've witnessed throughout US financial history has been triggered by some kind of a catalyst. In 1990, it was the invasion of Kuwait that triggered an oil shock. In 2000, it was the tech bubble that burst, where millions of tech jobs were lost, dragging the economy into a recession. And in 2007, it was the housing bubble that was bursting that led to a collapse in consumer spending, in consumer confidence, which again led the economy into a recession. Now, don't get me wrong, the economy is ripe for a recession. We think it's only a matter of time before this chart starts to look something like this. This has actually been the longest yield curve inversion since 1929, where the yield curve was inverted for over 700 days. This is a chart that we've shown before, plotting the number of days where the yield curve was inverted against the size of the market drawdowns that you typically see in the follows. When the yield shorter period of time, it leads to shallower stock market corrections because the recessions are not as severe. When the yield curve is inverted for a longer period of time, it suggests that monetary policy has probably been too tight for too long, which historically has caused some pretty severe market drawdowns like the 1974, the 2008, and 1929 crashes. Today, we are around, in our opinion, puts the market at risk of a massive drawdown when the recession actually materializes. Now, I'm not going to get into our exact investment strategy in this video, but the trades that we have on our website at gameoftrades.net are very nicely positioned for market strength heading into a recession, while also being increasingly hedged against the possibility.
Okay, so he's the worst thing that he said there is that that's the longest period that it's been inverted since 29. So that's not good, y'all.
That's kind of spooky, scary, isn't it?
Yeah, that's really scary because I watched most of that video. I didn't watch all 6 minutes of it till right there. I watched like 4 minutes because I was like, I know most of this I already know, and I was like, that part I didn't hear, and that's why that was a real reaction to me hearing that. And yeah, this is real deal, people. Let's be very clear. If you don't have any Bitcoin right now, you are flirting with very disastrous possibilities, right? I don't know how many times I got to state this. The dollar is riding high, right? It's still riding high, but it's come down off its high horse, right? The DXY, when oil hit 120 something dollars a barrel, the DXY pushed right up to 115, right? And followed suit and rode high there for almost 2 years, but now it's been coming down off that high horse. And we're, you saw the chart we shared last week, and it did retest and push back up into the 101, 102. But that, in my opinion, is short-lived. But yeah, all the indicators are there. All the red flags are there, right? And I don't know why he kind of lost his train of thought. He was pointing out all of the, the black swans that kind of pushed us over the tipping point into each of those recessions and or equities market crashes. This time it's a whole bunch of things, right? It's not just one thing, right? We got the commercial.
So what is that black swan event then, Gerald? What is that black swan event?
It's 10 black swans. It's a multi-black swan event.
It's a flock of swans.
It's a flock of swans. It's a flock of black swans, right? We got the biggest credit card debt bubble in the history of America. We have the biggest commercial property bubble. We've the residential bubble.
That's the one that I'm still worried about when I think of downside pressure. And if there's any bearish sentiment in me, it comes from knowing that there's so much commercial real estate out there still at high interest rates on these loans that needs to be, serviced. And what are we doing about that? And that's, I think it's the commercial real estate and the regional banks that I think is still the linchpin that could be what sends the house of cards tumbling, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, you're right. That could be the tipping point. Could be regional banks, just being over leveraged in this fashion. I mean, it's not looking good. It really isn't. And anyone that still thinks, that the little game, and don't get me wrong, they've tried this, they've used this technique many, many times, right? They're going to, in next week, what is it? I think the 17th and the 18th is the FOMC meeting. They're going to cut rates and print money. We know that's coming. And that has traditionally that's probably like the 10 or 20% probability of that chart is, if they do cut rates and print a ton of money, the markets could rocket back like they've done many times. But I think before that happens, all the other indicators are kind of giving credence to my theory, right? That, when I made that video in May about they're going to crash the equities markets, scream poor like they always do, and then rely on this time. And I said I thought this was going to happen back in 2020 when the markets collapsed, but they weren't ready, right? They just weren't ready. They didn't have USDC ready. They didn't have USDT ready. All of this,
the plumbing wasn't quite there, is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we discussed this, I think, last episode as well. Clean Spark, this is probably one of the biggest stories that nobody's really talking about. Clean Spark is, setting up Lightning accounts that will sync with your bank account and sync with your debit card. Like literally that's tap, and you just Lightning tapped with your bank, right? With Satoshis. Are you paying attention? Because this is where we're
headed. We've got to have some change here in the laws as far as taxation and accounting purposes, because if no one is going to be doing that for cap gains. I mean, that's a problem.
Well, that's the thing, is everything's about to change, right? If everything goes,
Japan, you mentioned Japan lowering their rates from 50 to 15%.
Yeah, 55 to 20%. They're reducing their cap gains tax. I mean, these are all big signals saying that something's about to change.
Meanwhile, in America, we want to tax unrealized capitalized gains. So what the hell?
And that's the other thing is, that nobody's pointing out too, right? Like the governments of the world are going to have to legalize Bitcoin as tender officially, right? And they're going to have to do this, right? It's just the thing, right? Because you can't tax legal tender. So, I mean, if you're tapping all the time with your Lightning wallet that's attached to your Chase or your US bank account, that's going to have to be a non-taxable event because you're buying daily goods and services. This is, that's a non-taxable event. And this is, again, all of these little indicators, right? That Japan's dropping their cap gains tax. XRP's case finally settled, and SBI is very excited about that, right? Why is SBI super excited? Because the yen is shitting the bed, like we said months back would happen, right? And literally they are going to be using XRP, right? Like, let's be very clear. The Japanese have been using XRP for what, 7 years now, and love it, but they can't have the penetration and commercial banking depth that they want until they have that clarity with the US, right? Until they have that they can't do these huge deals with India and with with us and with other LPs, big LPs.
Well, there goes the whole dollar yen trade.
Yeah.
That's going to cause a problem, I think, there, Gerald.
Yeah. Again, this is the whole thing. Is like you can't. They can't be doing these huge carry trades in XRP yet until there's some regulatory clarity. Yeah, play the video.
Licensing. And so a key issue that we will continue to make sure we are partnered with U.S. regulators before we go live with the stablecoin. We'll first issue it, we expect, in the U.S., but we think there's opportunity for stablecoins globally. And certainly Japan, as you, I think, probably know, they approved some legislation a year ago that came into effect this year. And so there's a process underway now to do stablecoins here in Japan as well.
Yeah, I want to talk about that. But when we're talking about the U.S., we're talking about a matter of weeks for this launch.
Yeah, our expectation has been to move as quickly as we can. Some people, I think, thought that might be the very end of the year. We won't know for sure until regulators say, yes, we have the green light. But we're optimistic. We acquired a company called Standard Custody, which had a New York DFS trust license. And there's a process you go through to kind of transfer that and how it's going to be used. We've had a great partnership with the New York DFS, Department of Financial Services, through a BIT license we've had for many years. And we'll continue to partner with them and work through that with them before we go live.
Tell us a little bit about the use case. How does this really differentiate from your token itself? Because that's also been talked about, a payment system, right?
Right. We've always used XRP, the digital asset that's kind of native to our technology stack. We've used that as a bridge asset to transfer money across borders. What we have found is that stablecoins, particularly US dollar stablecoins, has gone from a pretty small market to today it's about $170 billion worldwide. And people think that may end up being 2 to 3 trillion in about 5 years. Given Ripple's place in the payments infrastructure, as well as a trusted brand partnering with financial institutions and regulators, we felt like there's an opportunity to enter the stablecoin market as that market continues to grow. We already have used stablecoins in our payment flows for certain corridors, depending upon whether you're going to the Australian dollar or the Philippine peso. Certain corridors, it's more efficient to use a stablecoin at times. So we always use what's best for the customer, and we decided to go live and build our own stablecoin, and excited to get live with that this year.
Thinking of building a stablecoin here in Japan, I mean, you said that the regulations here were clearer, but at the same time, is more of a conservative market, no?
I think Japan has been a more conservative market in some ways, but I actually think that in some ways is also really healthy. Japan, more so than some countries around the world, leaned in early to provide regulatory clarity and passed legislation, both about stablecoins, but even further back, I think 2017 or 2018, the FSA here in Japan issued clarity and a kind of a taxonomy, a framework for how different cryptos would be regulated. And that has really allowed, I think, entrepreneurship and investment to thrive here in Japan. Now, as compared to the United States, which has really been behind, certainly Japan and the UK and behind Switzerland, there's a lot of countries that are leading, and Japan has been in many ways one. That's not to say they haven't been conservative about the regulation, but I think that can be really healthy. As long as there's clear rules of the road, entrepreneurs will work within them.
So if you're imagining a stablecoin in Japan, what's the time frame?
Well, I think right now, Ripple in particular is focused on let's get live with the US dollar stablecoin. But I think people will want to hold yen stablecoins, and I think that's only a matter of time. And I think the regulators here in Japan, again, about a year ago, passed some legislation around that. And there's some companies going through the licensing process.
Yeah, like I said on the show yesterday, which was, I had not seen this full clip, mind you. And so my prediction was accurate. But I mean, it's not a reach for that prediction, right? XRP, again,
well,
SBI
with
loves
SBI Holdings
XRP.
being out of Japan as well, I mean, SBI
Exactly.
got their hands all over that. So yeah,
they literally are probably on the phone with Carlinghouse, like, when are you making the XRP yen? Soon.
yeah,
I gotta make the dollar one first.
exactly.
Because guess what? Again, this is proving everything I've been saying, right? Like, I don't know if you can find that clip I snipped of the Coinbase head of their legal department. But basically, he was saying the same thing, right? Like, oh, he was like, I think this is me just, summarizing, but it basically what he said was, in the fall, I don't know who wins, but basically we see advances in the industry. I was like, oh, funny. I wonder why. So all signs are pointing that there's a big move coming, a big change, right? And it's usually precipitated by bad news, right? Oh my gosh, what are we going to do? And again, that's what they're going to do. USDC, USDT, XRP, USD, right? Algo, USD, right? I said they're
We've said this
Solana,
for a while. It's going to
USDT.
be the private sector. It's going to be the private sector developing it, and then they'll co-opt it. The government will co-opt it. So they'll let them do all the legwork, work out all the kinks, and then once
Correct.
Tether or USDC is, Jeremy's got it dialed in. Oh, thank you.
Thank you
we'll be
so
working
much.
with Circle or
Yeah, and look for, whoever the government decides to start building bonds on, right? Like that's the underlying asset you want to be in, whether that's Algo or XRP, or they figure it out and do it on BTC. That's yet to be seen, because there's, many companies and many private banks out there that have tried to do this, right? There's Russian banks that have tried to do this. Oh, nice. There you go. Pull it up.
One bill, which provides for market structure for crypto and important investor and consumer protections. And that legislation is now being considered by the Senate. And so we expect, even as the presidential campaign roars ahead, we're going to see progress in the fall on that legislation, and hopefully an embrace by both parties of the structure and certainty it would provide.
Progress in the fall.
Yeah.
Your point is, far off, right? Equities markets are there. And I saw the Dow Jones the other day drop almost 500 points. Like it's 460 points. So again, the FOMC meeting is going to be real serious, right? Let's be clear, it's going to be a real serious meeting. And
all right, let me ask you this: if they come out with 50 basis points in a cut, is that a shock? And does that mean that they waited too long, that the jobs numbers have been cooked way more than anybody has thought, that we are in way over our head, that if they go with 50, it's like, does that freak the markets out even? Does 50 freak the markets out?
I think it would freak the markets, the equities markets. I think it would freak out more than the crypto markets. I think Bitcoin would react very positively. I don't know how the equities markets would react. They could do the same thing, right? Because again, anytime there is a liquidity crisis, and been doing this monetary tightening for almost 2-3 years now, as soon as they start to hint at a cut and printing, I mean, what happens. It's off to the races, and Bitcoin will just go to the moon. It'll go to 300K in a month, right? It'll just all of a sudden it'll go to 80K. And
now you're sounding like
100K.
Samson Mao, dude. Now you're sounding like Samson Mao. Godzilla is coming Monday.
You can't stop at this point. You can't stop it, right? Like, there's like 90, I think it's 94 or 96% of all the Bitcoin that's out there hasn't moved in 5+ years. So again, the only play, and again, No, it's a free market. You're used to manipulation. So you're used to everything staying about where it should stay, right? Unless there's a calamity, and then we see the trap door fall, and equities hit the floor. But that's the difference, right? Like most people are used to all of these financial instruments that are in front of all of their financial, right, to slow down markets.
Yeah.
When bad things happen, doesn't have those things, right? So
There's no
Bitcoin
circuit breakers. They don't stop trading on Bitcoin like they do Nvidia.
exactly. So I mean, that's the huge difference. Yeah, exactly. People have been conditioned by the markets, right, to literally not react to stability, right? So they again, they put all of these little instruments in front of all of these products. So again, it's one of the things that we don't have in the crypto industry is a thing that the FOMC has called the plunge protection team, right? And this is literally Jerome Powell has a set of buddies, right, that sit around all day, and when markets start to go south, what do they start doing? They start buying equities. They start throwing around their capital. Now, obviously, during the last couple of years, they haven't been as active because they usually are only throwing around all their money when the money printer's on full burr, right? And it's not on full burr right now. I think we talked about this a little bit last episode. I looked at the security schedule, the buyback, and they're only buying back 150 million in T-bills like every.
Yeah, they're not buying a lot. It's slowed down dramatically.
No, it's not a lot at all. But yeah, I just wanted to get into all that because I want people to understand this is the time, right? This is the time in history. I had a friend when I was working at Eddie Bauer back in I think it was like 2017 or 2018 when that last bull run happened then. Come up to me, and she was worked in the inventory. She worked in the back room, and she's like, can you tell me when, the dollar is going to shit the bed so I can let my folks know and people, I can tell people so they can buy.
Look, no one knows the return. No one knows when, no one knows. That's why you just got to be ready, right? No one knows the hour at which the Son of Man will return.
Yeah, and again, that was like 5 or 6 years ago when I said this, and I'm usually way ahead of stuff, right? So now, fast forward to 2024, all of those, all of my just my cursory, gut feeling, my visceral gut feeling. Now we have evidence to show that this is the case, right? We have the petrodollar is no more, right? Like it is not exclusive. So let's be very clear and explain that out, because when people talk about this, they kind of like say, oh, they don't use the dollar anymore. No, they still use the dollar, but they can use multiple currencies, right?
Right.
So you can buy oil with the dollar, you can buy it with yen now, rubles, like all these different currencies that Saudi Aramco is going to open up to. That is bad for the dollar, but it will take some time. The other flags we just discussed, the inverted yield curve reinverting, right? Like that is a telltale sign. So we have like all of these signals saying that the economy is going bad and the dollar is, not faring well in the next 5 to 10 years. This is the time, right? You need to be stacking sats, please, and thank you. Again, the new one I say to people when I orange pilled them, I say, look, I'm not going to make any money if you buy $200 worth of Bitcoin, right? You understand this, right? And when they say no, I'm like, really? Okay, if you buy $200 of Bitcoin, the price of Bitcoin is not going to move, right? Then they kind of get it, right? But let's get into today's topic, today's show, because we kind of got off on a tangent, but it is important because, you know, it is our lives, it is our money, it is the economy, and that's the way it's headed. And that's what Jerome's about to do. We hope he's about to put on the money printer, and that fixes everything. That's usually the case, but with our debt payments, you know, pushing past $1 trillion, again, $150 million buying back in T-bills. Let's just do math, right? 150 plus 150, 300 times 2, 600 million. That's not a lot of fucking money when you're talking in the grand scheme of macroeconomics, y'all. That's like 10 minutes worth, like maybe a couple hours of U.S. economics right there. 600 million, not kidding. But let's get into today's topic, which is Bitcoin, the games, the scams. Because again, when we're heading into a bull market, which I think we're about to do in the next 3 to 6 months, there will be all of these people trying to get to your money, whether it's your dollars, your Bitcoin, your Litecoin, your shit coins, even. Like when it's a real bull market, the scammers will even want to steal your shit coins. Not kidding. So let's get into it. I have a page pulled up right here. Let me share that one. And we'll just go into the basics because Google has a nice one, a nice AI overview. Boom. All righty. So here are some of the basics. Pump and dumps. So what is a pump and dump? So a pump and dump is basically, if we make a Venn diagram of your shitcoin, right? We put it on the whiteboard with a big circle and we put shitcoin in the middle. We draw another circle and it intersects just like about 20%, you know, right there. And literally on that one, we write exchange, right? So if we only have 2 circles, one is the coin, and you can put under there /hodlers, and the other one is exchanges. That's a pump, a P&D as I call it. And basically what it is, a scammer convinces people to invest in this coin to drive up the value of that coin. And then when it hits a certain target that they feel comfortable with, they sell all of their position, leaving you with hefty bags. And then obviously the big red candles going to the floor, and you're left holding hefty bags worth of shit, right? And this is probably one of the most common types of scams in the crypto community, right? One of the biggest right now that there's that people still think is a real legitimate coin. Sorry, Charles. Cardano is one of these types of scams, right? The newest thing going around right now, he's hired a whole new cadre of influencers to talk about their new hard fork and talk about their new governance and blah, blah, blah. It's all bullshit. Notice how I called him out on it, right? He shaved his beard. He made some barbecue. Oh, then he disappeared for a few days, right? That drummed up a little bit of attention. Oh, Charles is missing. No, he's not. He's a fucking scammer. He's the most polite, most intelligent fucking scammer in crypto, but he is just like Richard Hart, except he's not a complete douchebag.
Yeah, man, you're bringing the spice now. This is the spicy Gerald that people want. This is the spicy, crypto oracle that we've come to know and love. Now, man, I know for a fact over the years, man, that Cardano community, they're like kicking over a hive of hornets. But you piss them off, boy. They get triggered really easily. So be careful what you say. Your DMs, you're gonna get flooded by the Cardano trolls, and now you're gonna get all this hate mail, and you'll probably, who knows, dude.
We do, because if I can save one more person from investing in that shit coin, awesome. Okay, and let me just explain to you why. Right, so I invested in Cardano, believed in it. When I got into the space and started becoming even more super technical and learning code and learning this and learning that, I was very impressed by Cardano, right? But over the years, I've used it. It's become like every other shit coin I've ever used. Problems. And it's just like Ethereum. Oh, that we didn't do this update. No, we don't care. Sorry. And then it doesn't work, right? Like, so I'm trying to claim some of my
I'd rather
staking
buy my
rewards.
Call of Duty points. I'd rather buy Call of Duty points than buy Cardano. Okay, I'd rather buy Call of Duty tokens because those are worth more than Cardano.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like, so I'll just give you the last straw for me was about, I don't know, 6 months to a year ago, right? I'm in this wallet. I'm trying to get my Cardano rewards for staking. And they're like, sorry, it's not working right now. Come back later. So I tried again, same message. Try it again, update the wallet, update this, wait another day, try it again, nothing happens, try it again, nothing happens. So I'm talking, I've tried it 2-3 dozen times now. I'm like, I'm done with you. You are shit, right? I never have that happen with Litecoin. Never have I had that happen with Bitcoin. There's even Dogecoin. I haven't had these types of issues, right? Like, come on, dude. Cardano is written in Haskell, which again is a coding language nobody fucking uses. Again, it's a really
Well, when you look at the history of Haskell, though, I mean, it should obviously give you a major red flag. I mean, when you look at just going back to the track record of Haskell, I'm reminded of Eddie Haskell from Leave It to Beaver, and that guy was a total punk. So anything called Haskell, is a scam and is a punk. Thank you.
Exactly. We'll leave it at that. Let's go back to the page. Let's see. And yeah, so the next one is phishing scams, and everyone should be familiar with phishing scams, where they basically, they can pretend to be someone trustworthy, whether it's it's Verizon or AT&T, Amazon, right? I'm the only analyst out there that has warned about this for 5 or 6 years, right? I've worked in telecom, right? I've worked in technology now for many, many years. And I said this, I think it was like 2019 or 2020. All of the SMS systems are compromised, right? So it doesn't matter if you're an AT&T, Verizon customer, I don't care what customer you are, all of those SMS systems are compromised, right? Because you get fake texts from supposedly Verizon, supposedly AT&T, supposedly Amazon, supposedly all the, Venmo, the list is endless, right? And all you got to do is you click on that link and boom, they're in there, right? They've injected malicious software into your fucking phone, your device, your computer, your tablet, whatever, and it's literally now scanning all of your fucking systems for pertinent data, right? So don't be touching any links from any, and what's funny is I just had a fight with Uber about this, and this is Uber, a technology company that doesn't even get this disconnect, right? So they now send out this 2FA little SMS to their drivers, right? That says, "Oh, are you trying to withdraw your money into your bank account?" And it's like they've never done this before, but when it comes up, it shows like, instead of showing you the dollar amount that's in your wallet, it says zeros. Well, that sounds a little shady. So I told them in the chat, I was like, yeah, I didn't click on it because it looked like a fucking scam, you dumb assholes. But yeah, so again, don't click on any fucking links. This is how phishing works, right? They're sending you shit that looks official. You click on the link and boom, whether they're injecting malicious software or they're gaining one little piece of information, right? Because there's phishing scams out there that are just social engineers, right? So that's another thing. Let's explain social engineering versus hacking, right? So hacking is when people they use hardware and software to basically fool either an application or firmware into doing something that it's not supposed to do, right? That's what hacking's do. Social engineering, and this is a huge difference. Most social engineers are not hackers, right? They're just smart people, right? Kazal Ron, right? Or Razel Khan, whatever the fuck her name is. She's not a hacker, right? She's a social engineer. And what social engineers do is they go into your social media, right? They start looking at your stuff, what you're into, what your favorite shit is. And if they follow you enough, oh, here comes your birthday. Boom. Now they got your birthday, right? And that's where they start. They get one piece of information. Boom, there's your birthday, because it comes up on Facebook. Today's your birthday. Yay! People think this is a great feature on social media. No, it's not anymore. So they jot that down, and then they find another piece of information, right? They find the last 4 of your social. They jot that down. Then they get another piece of information. Now they've got enough pieces of data to create a digital version of you, right? And as soon as they do that, then they can create, right? They can create fake profiles. They can get a fraudulent credit card in your name. The list is endless.
I just wish, if somebody's going to do this, I wish they would improve my credit score. Can somebody do that for me? Like, create a fake account and improve my credit score? Because I could really use the help on that, Jared.
We need some white hats to hack into Matt's stuff and make his shit nice. Okay, so again, this can look like it's super official, right? It can look like it's come from Verizon, AT&T, any one of your insurance companies, your bank entities, Zelle, Venmo, right? Be very weary of anything coming from any of those companies that you just didn't interact with, right? You paid your Verizon bill, you see a message come saying you paid it. That's from them, right? If you get a message out of the blue and you don't recognize it, do not touch it, right? Please and thank you. That's rule number 1 in crypto. Oh yeah, we didn't go over rule number 1 in crypto. Rule number 1 in crypto: do not send any Bitcoin to anyone you don't know, right? I'm never going to ask you for Bitcoin. Matty's never going to ask you for Bitcoin. Nick's never going to ask you for Bitcoin, but there will be assholes that say, send me some Bitcoin and I'll fix A, B, C, D. No, don't ever do that. Never, ever do that, right? For the older guests that may be watching, right? You're always, they like to attack older people too, because older people aren't tech savvy. So they get you, oh my gosh, hey, yeah, this is AT&T. Well, oh my gosh, well, we just noticed you haven't paid your bill and blah, blah, blah. And if you don't pay your bill right now, we're going to shut off your internet. We're going to shut off your TV. We're going to shut off your phone. Oh my gosh. Yeah, everything's going to shut off. So what we need you to do is run down to Walmart and buy 10 gift cards. Yeah. As soon as you hear that shit.
Have you seen the movie? Have you seen the movie, The Beekeeper with Jason Statham?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking is that you're going through all this. I'm just thinking, oh, this is the movie, The Beekeeper.
Correct. And again, these people are out there, they do this shit, and the Beekeeper is like the high-end level, right, where they have like an office team of people doing this shit, and they're acting like they're a sales team, right? Like they're like making money like a legit man. No, they're stealing from old people. These are scum fucking ball people, and if I ever see them, I don't believe in killing people, but yeah, I'll break a finger or two. I don't care. Because you're stealing from little old ladies and little old men who've been saving their money for their whole lives, and you want to weasel it out of them in 5 minutes because you're an asshole. No, thank you. Fuck off. But yeah, don't touch on any of those links. Anybody saying that you need to go down to the bank, take out cash, you need to go to the ATM, take out cash, bullshit, scam, scam, scam. Anytime somebody's being pushy, right? Scam. 9 times out of 10, scam. So let's go over some of the other ones. Let's go back to that list. Well, I need to click back to that list real quick. So fake celebrity endorsements. Okay, well, not only fake celebrity endorsements, real celebrity endorsements, right? Don't ever click on any celebrity token, celebrity endorsement. Again, 9 times out of 10, it's a scammer pretending to be Elon, pretending to be Jeff Bezos, pretending to be Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, whoever the celebrity of the day is that's getting into crypto. But 99% of these are all scams, right? Even the ones that are legitimate, where the actual celebrity is real, it's not a deep fake, even those are scams, because nobody wants that shit coin. 99% of these celebrities have no clue what they're fucking talking about. They have no clue about fucking token economics. They have no clue about any of this shit.
They're just
have
selling
their
and
hand out.
shilling unregistered securities. Let's just be honest.
Correct. And we've discussed this multiple times, right? It is securities fraud. If you do what we just discussed, right? You create a token, you pump it to the high heavens, and then you dump it on your community, you've just committed securities fraud. You're an asshole. And again, I've said this the last couple of bull runs. Where are all those people like, oh, I made this coin, I made all this money? Yeah, you don't see those people. Wonder why? Because they're in jail or they're paying fines, right? Big fucking huge fines. So yeah, if you really want to do it, it can be done, right? If you want to go to, what is it, pump.fun, and you make a token, and you're a computer science teacher in high school, and you make this token called learn token, and you make 20 million and you give it out to everyone in your class for free, and then 10 years later that token goes to like, I don't know, $200. Not securities fraud, amazingly enough. But yeah, it can be done. Usually, like I said, if given away for free, or if it's done as a classroom experiment, it's okay. As soon as you try and put in on exchanges like Mother, like just hint, don't buy that shit. Or the Scottie Pippen one, or all these other celebrity tokens. We discussed this, I think, 3 episodes ago. Yeah, their tokens did this. All of them, literally. They went up like 30 and then dropped 70 to 90%. So what does that tell you? Scams, even real scams, right? Real-time scams, right? It's a real celebrity selling their real shit coin, and it's really going to steal all your money. All right, so let's get back to that page, because I think we've gotten through almost all of them. Blackmail. Oh, yeah. So the blackmail ones. Oh, okay. So the blackmail ones basically go down like this. We've gotten into your hard drive, and we have you pleasuring yourself, and we want 0.25 Bitcoin sent to this address, or we're going to release the videos or photos, right? Bullshit. First off, 9 times out of 10, they're social engineers. They have some basic software. They're going to try and basically scare you into scare you into giving them your Bitcoin. No, don't do it. Right? 9 times out of 10, they don't have shit. They can't get into your hard drive if they even if they had a hacker standing behind them. Right? So yeah, that's another one going around. They have the goods on you, whether it's, you pleasuring yourself, or you with another woman, or you with whatever, doing whatever. It's 9 times out of 10, it's bullshit. So don't fall for that one either. Let's see what else we got on the list here. Giveaway scams. Yeah. So there's lots of scams out there. There's lots of games out there too, right? So anytime you hear somebody saying, like, all you got to do is deposit this and we'll give you this. Yeah, scam, right? Now, a game, that's different, right? Like my first foray into Satoshis was a little like video game where you played, you won, they gave you a handful of Satoshis, right?
The history
so
that goes back to Satoshi Dice, Eric Voorhees, way back in the day. Satoshi Dice.
Exactly. And it wasn't Satoshi Dice, but it was a game similar to Satoshi Dice. So where they're saying you're going to win Satoshis by playing their game, that's totally different, right? And obviously you want to look into that game a little further, right? Peek behind, the veil, right? If you have access to the keys, then it's probably legit. If they have access to the keys to the wallet, it's probably a scam. If they give you the public keys, it's probably more legit, right? So, I mean, it's a fine line right there, but understand that, right? If they're giving you Satoshis to do A, B, C, X, Y, Z, then yeah, it's probably a legit thing. If they're saying, give us Satoshis and we'll fix whatever problem you're having, it 9 times out of 10, it's a fucking scam, right? So stay away from all that crap as well, right? Like literally, again, we just discussed this. First rule of Bitcoin and crypto. If you don't know, if you haven't met the person, don't send them Bitcoin, right? Unless you literally, it's out of the goodness of your heart, right? I've given, Bitcoin to people in Africa. I've given Bitcoin people in South America, send me the lightning invoice.
That guy in Africa, he was a prince from Nigeria, wasn't he?
Yeah, no, he wasn't. But yeah, again, that's another one, right? So the Prince Nigerian gold scam. Yeah. And guess what? People still fall for that one, right? So here's the good news, right? The good news, the bad news is there's all these fucking Bitcoin and crypto scams, right? They're just getting out of hand and worse and worse. The good news is that's, red flag, red flag, red flag, red flag. Big green flag is that criminals want Bitcoin. That's a huge fucking green flag. They don't want dollars, right? A lot of these guys, the ransomware guys, these are pro hackers, right? What do they want? They want Bitcoin. They don't want fucking dollars. They want the best, hardest asset ever fucking created. Let's go over that last one because that's an important one as well. Misspelled URLs. And again, this one, it's very simple, right? Like it's a link you've gone to a million times, right? Google.com, except this one says Google.com. And instead of it having a / it's like a backwards.
Sorry, I got disconnected. I got disconnected there. So you're telling me though about the hackers, you're saying the hackers, they only want one thing and it's not Cardano.
Correct. It ain't ADA, baby.
I just wanted to make sure because I lost my connection there. So
yeah, and that's another thing I've been noticing over the last 5 years, right? So if you go I tell people stay away from the dark webs. Don't ever let your computer touch the dark web. If it does, it's done, right? But a lot of the people in the dark web, who in the early days, Bitcoin was the main currency. That's not the case anymore. It's Litecoin and Monero are now like the big currencies on the dark web. But as we can see, right, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Monero, right? These are what the criminals want. They don't want Tether. They don't want USDC, right? They don't want paper shitty dollars, right? And that's the other thing. Anytime you hear these politicians say that, the criminals use Bitcoin. No, they don't, dude. Let's make this delineation really clear here. I think it used to be 99% was all done in cash. Now it's like 97, right? 97% of all fraud, all crime, right? Done in USD, right? Paper money. Right. No one's in the fucking middle of the desert buying M60s with fucking Monero or fucking Dogecoin. Right?
Not even Cardano. They're not even using Cardano. See?
Not even Charlie coin. Right? Nope, ain't happening. It's paper dollars, right? And as I said in the group, we had a nice group call yesterday. It was very fun. This is one of the reasons that they are going to crypto dollars, right? China has, invented paper money, right? Let's be very clear. They invented paper money about 800 years ago and are the masters of paper money. Most Americans aren't aware of this. We re-upped and renewed the $100 bill. I think it was 2001 when the first new iteration started coming out with all the new security features. And literally within about 14 days, China had already faked the funk and they had to redo those $100 bills that they just fixed. So again, this is one of the huge reasons we're going to crypto dollars, right? There are many bad actors out there that know how to print paper money. And with the advent of digital laser printers, it is almost unless you're very trained eye like myself, you can't spot a fake. I've literally worked, one of my other expertises is micro retail economics, right? Because I've worked in, retail for many, many years. I've spotted maybe one or two counterfeit bills in my entire career in retail. But when you find one, it's scary because then, the brain starts to think like, where is this? Where has this 20 been? How many more of these 20s were made? If it's 100, the same thing. Where has this $100 been? Yeah, very true. Very true. But yeah, again, you can't audit, that kind of stuff, right? Like they can't even audit what they print, right? But if it's Tether, if it's USDC, if it's XRP, USD, or whatever they fucking call that shit, um, they can audit that in seconds, right? Within 5 minutes, they could say, we've got 228 million right here, right? Or 250 billion, whatever, in seconds. And to cryptographically fake the funk of these types of products is much more difficult, right? Especially when it comes to Bitcoin and Litecoin, right? This is why these assets are so powerful, so undervalued. Like Bitcoin is still super undervalued. Litecoin is super undervalued, and that's great.
Yeah, Nick had a great point before we actually launched the show this morning, and I think his sentiment was right on. Anything under 100K on Bitcoin is a smash buy deal right now.
Agreed. Agreed. And again, any day now, right? It can go to those prices, right? Because we've been in this, pardon me, we've been in this space for many years, and seeing Bitcoin go from 3K to 30K, from 20K or 17K to 70K or 75K. So
yeah, historically the biggest moves have happened in like 10-day periods over the course of Bitcoin.
yeah, there's short time frames. It's a month, less than a month usually. It's a couple weeks, and Bitcoin can do 5, 10, 20x, right? Let's say Bitcoin does a 10x move from right here. That's like 500 plus K, right? That's just a 10x. It's done 100x.
That's not what Samson Mao would call a Godzilla or Omega candle. That's just I guess it's called a God candle. A 10x, right? Is technically a God candle. So if we're talking Omegas or Godzillas, that's going to put that 10x to shame.
Yeah, and again, that's the thing is if we so Bitcoin's around 50K, let's say 54, whatever. If it does like a 20x, that's $1 million Bitcoin. That's what Samson's trying to point out to people, is that Bitcoin's made these moves time and time again. And without the banks stacking, without 95% of the supply moving, right?
So let me. I know I don't want to. I kind of going to derail the conversation a little bit. I'm sorry, but does a major financial crisis, let's say the commercial real estate, regional banks, whatever, that is the tipping point that puts us into a recession, and we see asset prices go down. How bad does the price of Bitcoin get hit, and how quickly does it recover?
So that's a tricky question, right? So we have seen this happen time and time again, right? So let's just go back to 2020 right when the pandemic hit. I think it was like March 12th, 2020. Equities get hammered, Bitcoin gets hammered, everything got hammered in those days and weeks, and literally within. It took a couple of years, but within a couple of years, Bitcoin, is hitting new all-time highs. So, I mean, I think what we're going to see is what we usually see is, people people want to say Bitcoin's risk on, risk off. It's not either. It's the solution, right? And the more and more people are starting to figure out that it's the new rail, right? It's the new money line, right? It's not. People like, I had this guy in my Uber I was taken to a concert like a week or two ago. I was like, first rule of Bitcoin, never sell your Bitcoin, right? And he's like, what do you mean? You gotta sell. He was drunk. He's like, you gotta sell. I'm like, no, you never sell, because Bitcoin is the solution, right? Bitcoin becomes the new, global reserve asset. Then why would you sell it, right? You don't sell it. You stack, you stack, you stack, you stack, you stack. And
Or you
that's,
leverage against it. You leverage
yeah, and
against
you
it.
can
And I
do that
think
as well, right?
that's
There's
the thing where I think that, I want to do more deep diving. I know there's some products out there and we're not going to show them today, but I think that might be a good topic for us as we move forward, Gerald, is let's look at some of these options that are safe, that are smart, that do allow you to use your Bitcoin as leverage, so you don't have to sell it, so you can still, use it as an asset and hodl it. I think that might be something worthwhile. I don't know.
Yeah, again, and this is already starting to play out, right? El Salvador, I think, is I think, I don't know if it's like 0.5 or 1 Bitcoin, but they're taking payment, right? And you're a citizen. And that will change, right? In the next 5 or 10 years, there will be countries that just will be like, yeah, just show us your public keys, right? And yeah, you're a citizen. Like, you don't even have to give us the money, right? You can just show us the UTXO that you hodl this shit, right? And that's going to be a huge game changer, right? When we
All right,
have
but see right
multiple.
there, though, the problem is we're using acronyms and terms, UTXOs and whatnot, that are going to go over most people's head, and their eyes are going to glaze over, and they're going to go, I don't even know how to UTXO or LMNOP or whatever I got to do, right?
Basically, you're just showing the country or the bank or the entity,
Right,
the
but
transaction.
the UX and the UI has to be there, so the everyday Joe Schmidlap who doesn't even understand Bitcoin, let alone how money is created, can be able to do that, though. Okay.
Oh yeah, correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
but what I'm trying to say is that there will be countries and jurisdictions vying for Bitcoiners, right? They want you.
Sure.
And again, you already have El Salvador. We discussed this yesterday, right? We got Google and multiple, Fortune 500 companies now moving, capital and assets and buying property in El Salvador because of this. Why is that? Because El Salvador is offering all these crazy tech and Bitcoin tax breaks, right?
Yeah.
What the money's going to go, right? The money's going to flow to where it wants to work and where it's not being taxed. And I keep saying this, I'm running for president 2028. I'm eliminating income tax. That's the only thing that's on my agenda. Elimination of income tax. I'm not going to eliminate all taxes, but you eliminate income tax, the American economy goes up like 500% within 4 years. Simple as that. This is basic econ 101.
Mm-hmm.
But back to the scams, because we want to finish up on a high note here. So speaking of scams, right? I just want to go over to this tab here and just show you. Did I hit the share this tab? I think I just shared it. Yeah, there it is. If you could pull that up. So this is the Bitcoin scams page, right? There's a lot on here. One of the new ones I've just saw is this one going around, right? You'll probably see like a whole bunch of it in a second. I think it's this one right here. Crypto Unlimited Deceiva. I don't know, but I see this hashtag going around with a bunch of these. This is definitely a scam. Look at this little clip here. There, guys point, oh, I got $458,000 in my blockchain.com wallet. But then if you look at the end, this video is literally supposedly from 2 hours ago, but Bitcoin's $28,000. Yeah, scam, right? Because Bitcoin hasn't been this price. Even if this is pounds, that's like 37K. This is a scam, right? I don't care what anybody says. There's millions of these little clips going around. People saying, oh, don't invest in this. I just made all this money. Here it is again. Scam. here's this lady saying it's not a scam. Here, don't invest here. It's a scam. And then they're telling you, I made all this money. Like, that's their pitch point. Like, oh, that's our tricky way to convince people it's not a scam by saying it's a scam. No, it officially is a scam.
You guys can do this. The process is 100% legit.
Yeah, no, it's 100% a scam.
Got back £5,000 in return. You guys can do this. The process is 100% legit.
Whenever it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true.
You guys can do this.
She says you invest £500 and you get 10,000 back. Yeah, bullshit. Total bullshit. But anyway, there's literally, this is going around now. There's her. There's another lady down here saying like, oh, I'm going to take the money and pay some bills. Like, bullshit. Here she is.
Agent that helped me to get the $100,000 grant. And I want to say I thank you for your hard work. I know you worked hard on it. I thank you for that. I appreciate you. God bless you. And I'm going to use the grant money for to pay off some bills.
Baloney. Again, most of these people are what you would call like low-end influencers, right? So they are getting paid by these scammers, right? Scammers are paying people to make little videos. Here's $100, make this video. And they get all these people to make, they spend $1,000. They pay 10 people to make these videos. And then they convince, people all over, X and the social media that this is legit. And here's another one. Here's this dude.
They are so patient. Other than thank you, it's the real deal. They are so patient and willing to work, and they're so helpful. And I just want to say thank you. You're blessing my family and I. So
yeah,
other than that,
scam. So again, I don't know what this one's all about, but I've seen it all over the place. Stay away from it. Other one is Bitcoin ATM scams, right? Like they tell you, they call you up, your this account is in disarray and we need you to go down to the Bitcoin ATM and we need $2,000 in Bitcoin. Again, anybody that's telling you to go to your bank or go to your, wallet and send them money and or coin, 99.9999999% of the time, it's a scam. So on that note, we're going to wrap it up. Today's show was, we did discuss the economy a lot, the first half, but the second half, we did go over a lot of these scams overall. Like, just stay away, right? Like, if you're new to Bitcoin, right, start learning about Bitcoin, why it's important, right? If you got Cash App, Venmo, there's like a whole bunch of Swan, Bitcoin Well, there's lots of places. And Bitcoin Well is a new one I've heard on, I think it's Simply Bitcoin, and theirs is probably one of the coolest. And I'm just going to go over it because I've heard it so many times on their podcast. Because as somebody's got their own show, I'm always trying to learn new stuff and hone my craft and get better. But anyway, Bitcoin Well, it's very similar to Swan, but I've heard it's a lot easier to use. But basically, you have your ledger, your Ballet, your Trezor, whatever. You hook it directly up to your cold storage, and then every time you make a buy, boop, it goes right into cold storage. Boom, right into cold storage. Boom, right into cold storage. Now, to me, that sounds like a winner. I haven't tested it out yet. I was thinking about doing it yesterday because I just listened to a podcast yesterday while I was sitting in the car. But these are the types of things you want to look for. Obviously, that's more advanced for the more advanced Bitcoiners out there. But if you're brand new, pull out your Cash App. You want to look at the bottom. You'll see a little B for the Bitcoin, I'm pretty sure. You want to click on that, set it up. You have to set up your wallet. You have to give them, if you haven't set it up, you got to jump through a handful of hoops to get your Bitcoin wallet set up. Once it's set up, I usually tell people, whatever you feel comfortable with. Every paycheck, 5, 10, 20, $50, whatever you feel comfortable with. When Bitcoin is in the red, buy, right? $20, buy. And you keep doing that. Every time the red, buy, 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 buy. And then a couple years goes by and you open up your cold storage wallet and you're like, wow, there's 0.15. wow, there's 0.25. And eventually, you keep at it, you will get to a half or a 1. And that's all you need, right? Like, there's these people that think you need to have like 1,000 Bitcoin. No, you just need a couple, right? Like 1 to 5, and you'll be all right. You'll be okay. But that's all we got for you today. Thank you so much to my host, co-host, MattySats. Thank you, Nick, for doing an excellent job as well. Thank you for our sponsors at Quantum Expeditions and Quantum Economics, and also to Shieldfolio. If you didn't see the QR code earlier in the link, I'm sure it'll pop up again, but it'll get you 20% off of your Shieldfolio. And again, thank you so much. Have a great day, folks. Peace.